So, as far as Guidewire Claim Center functional requirements are concerned, we discussed already about Claim Center, right? So, claim lifecycle followed by what functional and non-functional requirements, all that stuff. Even we discussed about what are functional requirements, what are non-functional requirements, and all in the previous session. Today, we are going to discuss about how are we going to validate the requirement or any requirement, especially when we are working on Guideware Claim Center as a business analyst. Because being a Guideware business analyst, especially on the claims, so it's not only of the claims, but end of the day, as a role of a business analyst, we need to focus more on requirements understanding, right? So we already know the requirement lifecycle, like how to trace the requirements, managing, prioritizing the requirements, changes, all that. So final thing is validation of requirements. So when we want to validate any kind of requirements, there were few things that we need to know. The first one about the value, because to what extent uh, the requirements that we have taken or the requirements that we are about to develop will provide a value to the business. Because whatever the business requirements that we have identified based on the interaction we have with the couple of stakeholders when we are interacting, we always see how the business requirements are so clear, right? So we need to understand the business requirements must have a clarity over the value of the business from the customer point of view. Because end of the day, business value is the high priority that is to be considered. Because if you want to add the value to the business requirement to the business, this is point number one. At the same time, we also need to be concrete and as well as measurable in terms of the requirements that we understood or in terms of the requirements what we are about to develop, right? So we must be having a clarity of thought. We must be having a concrete mindset, right? So at the same time, we should be able in a position to measure in terms of the complexity. I mean to say that because you need to see the business complexity while we are developing this particular requirement. So this is to validate the requirement. This is point number one. Second, does it have valid acceptance criteria? Because as in when we know, when we are working on the agile environment, and then we are writing all the user stories. User stories are nothing but the short description of requirement that we have taken. So whenever we are working on the user stories, we need to create some acceptance criteria, right? So for the particular user story that we have written, validating the acceptance criteria is important because majorly acceptance criteria are the one which will be helpful in verifying the objectives of the requirements which are to be met. End result is value. Okay, end result is the value because understanding the objectives and goals of a particular requirement or a project as a whole, which basically as a uh, business analyst we must be good with. Okay, so verifying the objectives of the requirement that we need to understand. So that is possible through validating the acceptance criteria that we mentioned. So this is the next one. Next one about the value alignment because rightly fitted the value alignment within the requirement relatively with other requirements also important because how are we integrating the requirements is important. Integration means how interconnected. More than integration, I can say interconnected, right? So how are these requirements are interconnected or interdependent? So that sort of understanding is required. So what is the value of a particular requirement we have relatively with other requirements we have? Let's say, for example, when you want to as far as the claims itself is concerned, you want to validate the claim or you want to verify and accept the claim. So if you want to verify and accept the claim, make sure a person should have a valid policy. At the same time, the policy must be in state of active. So then requirements, whatever that we have seen, will be considered. So value alignment is also one of the key and important factor that we consider. So value alignment is important, right? So relatively to what extent these are connecting to the requirements, like because unless if you are not integrating with policy center with claims, so that if you want to know about the particular claims whoever has submitted, right? So you want to know about that individual or a company, whoever submit the claim, right? So whether they have a active or policy or not, right? So we don't know unless we have that integration. So rightly fitted into the value alignment is also one of the key and important thing. So value of the requirement relatively with any other requirements or not. So these are the major area, the areas that we need to consider as a business analyst, especially on the claims when you want to validate any kind of requirement. These are the areas wherein we have to be focused more on.